just because I think that there's is oversaturated with a lot of people who think they know something. They don't know how to do something that they haven't obtained. And so that for me, if you're a person that calls yourself an expert at a certain thing, then what you say, you should be tapped into that spectrum and that ability to be able to stream wisdom from the universe, because that's really what it is. Look at my brother Elijah Farrakhan in here. We still ain't did no work together, but we gonna work. But I got a lot of stuff that I hold. Let me see. So let me see if I can read this out to you all. I gotta go through my notes. Look at these notes, man. I gotta go through them to get to them. I think one thing for one, somebody asked me yesterday, what do I do for a living? And I think that question is egoistic, and we've been trained to ask people those sort of questions, um, which make people to think about their left brain and their ego and what they do for a living. I live, so I don't like that question at all. I like the people to ask me who am I? You know what I mean? And who are you? That's a better question to ask. Because it gets people to tap into a different part of themselves that's less egoistic and more of their right brain, intuitive thought, and it gets you to get more of that genuine perspective because it makes a person really think. Instead of a person having to give you a title like, yes, I do this, that, and the third for money in our capitalist society. So I'm a polymath. A polymath is a person whose expertise spans a significant number of different subject areas, such as a person is known to draw on complex bodies of knowledge to solve specific problems. So a polymath. So a lot of you never heard that word polymath because they don't teach that in school, because they teach you that you can't be more than a title. You can't be a person who understands complex bodies of knowledge, have universal knowledge, but listen to the last part, knowledge to solve specific problems. So you don't just get knowledge so you can be a jack of all trades, you get universal knowledge so you can solve specific problems. And so part of my 19 keys is understanding the macro to the micro to the macro. It's taking general relativity of physics and also equating that to, the organisms in life, to where if I understand the atom, then I can also understand, the body. I can also understand why the frequencies of police shootings happen, why I'm not getting enough money in my life, why relationships, things of that nature not working out for me. So it's the idea of a universal education, which is essential to achieving polymath ability. Hence, the word university was used to describe a seat of learning. At this time, university did not specialize in specific areas, but rather trained students in a broad array of science, philosophy, and theology. This universal education gave them a grounding from which they could continue into apprenticeship toward becoming a master of a specified field. Now, in today's time, yes, it's still like that polymath. In today's time, people are not polymath. They go to school, you pay to go to school, you pay for being this time of learning, but you don't come out with real expertise with skills that will allow you to continue that apprenticeship towards becoming a master of a specific field. Like, you want to become a master of something. You don't just want to be a student of it. I went to college, but I dropped out due to a case that I caught because somebody snitched on me, and I ended up beating the case. But that's gonna be in the book. Don't worry about that. People always ask me what's the greatest book that I read. The greatest book that I ever read was life. It was experience. I read that. I read that book all the time, every day. You know. So I hope you understand that. I'm hoping it goes into some people's heads. Now you see, look at this. I got 10 people in here. If I'm talking about some bullshit and I'm motivating people, uh, they're going to. I would have a lot more people in here because a lot of things go over people's head, and that's the reason that sometimes I stay on the foundation, fundamental level, beginner's level, because we have a shorter attention span when it comes to creating new neural connections. And so when you giving somebody some bullshit, you making them feel good, you tapping into more of their emotional self. You tapping in to making, and so, hold on, I'm gonna have to answer these customers in a second. And so those people will have a larger attention span for things because they only using it for escapism because it's allowing them to wide they and knowing their real responsibilities in life. Uh-huh. But times have changed because back in the day, an individual could speak. If you speaking this sort of information, you'd have got even less people than 14. So you have to appreciate the change in times to where it's adjusted and you even get more and more. And then it's also speaking towards that maybe there's something that I need to do and my hook and fish to get more people on and to bring people up to another level. And that's part of what these events are. The first event that I did in Brooklyn, I told people like this event here is to start a relationship with you. I want to come to each place twice. First is to raise your awareness, and then we'll be on that frequency. Then we can get specific knowledge to solve a specific problem, universal knowledge to solve a problem. And next time I come to Brooklyn, I'll come in with solutions, and we go work together and we go build. And so I've increased, and I'm a whole new person since the last time that I went. When I said the name of the book is Life and the name of the book is Experience, I meant that in a literal sense, that I read experience. I read every day and I reflect upon the things that I go through because the only real knowledge is experience. Now, my book is coming out, inshallah, next month. I'm announcing that right now on the 19th. Had a lot of work to do, drop it off. It's going to be 19 keys, unlocking enlightened patterns of thinking. And so it's all about shifting the whole paradigm. And when my book, it really gives you a large array of knowledge and information to solve specific problems within your life. And this is I can't wait because after this, I'm gonna continue just writing books. I got a whole curriculum planned out. My Keys Academy. I'm actually going to be calling people I got 44 members in my Keys Academy right now already pre-registered. And what I'm going to do for the people that's registered, I'm going to start calling them. I believe the price of the book right now is, I think it's set at $39.19 online. It may or may not change when the actual book come out. Of course, of course. I love New York. The energy of New York is so vibrational, man. The frequency of New York is crazy. I would say one way you're going to start writing a book is to start writing the book. People always ask me how to start doing something. The best way to start something is to start. Whether you're writing down notes for it, whether you're writing down the idea for it, or whether you're taking voice notes and you turning them into actual papers and turning them to actual words that's written. The best way to start something is to start something. The reason we procrastinate is because our brain fires pain when we think about something that we don't want to do. But on the opposite side of every pain is growth. There's a reward to getting on that opposite side of pain and getting away from procrastination. And it allows you to develop a whole different way. Man, I appreciate it. Now, look, if I ain't coming to the city already, don't mean you can't get the same information from the cities that I'm going to be in, because each time I go to a city, I'm not dropping the same thing. I'm going to continue to build. This is part of the university. So that's why I'm doing the live streams, so that it's not that, oh, I go to each city and I say the same thing and we have the same dialogue. No, each city dropping new keys. I'm not going to drop the same key in Dallas and I'm going to drop in New York. Those are two different people. Why would I do that? So I want to have it tailored measured to the people in that specific time. Time is always changing, so I'm not going to drop the same message all the time. Atlanta, I'm working on getting a venue in Atlanta right now. And so I'm probably going to do something in either late July or August. Early August. I want to shoot for late July though. If I grab me a venue for early August, late July, then that's what I'm gonna do. I know a place that I want to do it at already, so I can't wait for that. So listen, my brother, billionaire PA, inspired me and told me to do this every time I go live. He told me to drop my Cash App because he said you're not supposed to work for free. And this is work to me. So nobody ever has to do anything. You don't have to ever give anything. I just want to say that as well, because I'm going to drop these knowledge regardless. Yes, I appreciate you. Now, so let's get back to polymath for those who's just entering because um, words like this should already be in your lexicon. And the fact that you had to find this out in 2018 on Instagram means that the universities, the schools, the educators, the people who came before you are really failing you by not adding. New language allows you to tap into new frequencies. When you speak new words. My brother was the first one that actually introduced me to this word. My older brother. So I appreciate him for passing down that information. But knowledge can become a wealth gap when it's not passed down. Next person to person, generation to generation. So things that one generation know can be totally lost for the next generation. I will put, look, so I'm going to drop a link in my story after this, and you just swipe up and join the Keys Academy. Now, when you join, I want you to invite two people. The link will become like this, but I'm going to drop it in my bio. When you join, I want you to invite people to join as well. Somebody said they wanted to meet with me to get 2 tickets. Okay, I don't think they understand what the tickets are, but you got to buy those tickets online. So polymath, and it comes from the Latin word homo universalis, or the Greek word polymath, having learning much. So it's a person whose expertise spans a specific number of different subject areas. Such a person is known to draw on complex bodies of knowledge to solve specific problems. The idea of a universal education was essential to achieving polymath ability. Hence, the university was used to describe a seat of learning. At this time, universities did not specialize in specific areas, but rather trained students in a broad array of science, philosophy, and theology. This universal education gave them a grounding from which they could continue into apprenticeship toward becoming a master of a specific field. So this is all very important. Because when you start to learn new languages, your brain starts to operate on different frequencies, and you start to express yourself, your thoughts, and your movement in an entirely different manner. So for me, when I first read something that's painful to read, or I get tired of reading it, what I would do in any new subject, I have to learn a new language so I can start translating so it becomes easy for me, so it's not that painful for me to start learning. So what I end up doing is if I want to tap into, let's say, if it's quantum physics or something, and the first book I read is boring to me because the words are foreign, I don't understand much. I'm going to watch a video on it, and then I'm going to start looking up vocabulary words at it, so my brain starts to form new neurons and start to understand the language of it. Once the language is there, then it starts to rotate like a wheel. Before the language is there, your mind is like a block. The block doesn't flow. So you have to change those thinking blocks into a thinking wheel. And so what I do is I just immerse myself in different aspects of educating myself on a new subject. And then I do things like working out and do things like getting the proper amount of sleep or eating the right things, because even if you don't eat the right food, it won't even allow you to have electricity in your brain to form those connections. So I think about all of these things in my conscious understanding, and that allows me to develop a new mind. And so you have to be patient with yourself. And once you become patient enough to start learning, that's when you develop a new mind. And so that's how I sort of measure myself as well. So when I talk about the number 19, I'm talking about a different set of laws. I'm talking about God. It goes into different parallels of understanding. When you understand the 1 through 9, then you understand the 19s. And so my brother Blue Pill was breaking it down yesterday that so many things happen on Juneteenth. Juneteenth is what, the 19th. And when you understand the law for the number 19, the 19 code, the 19 keys reveal secrets and reveal truths of the universe, and it also represents the coming of a new age and a new time. And so when I focus upon the number, it allowed my mind to tap into new states of thinking and understanding. So what ended up happening was, what the hell is that? It says there's 5 universal constants. It's called the Planck units. By definition, they normalize to 1, which is supposed to be, constants in the universe, which what we go by as laws in our universe. It's the speed of light in a vacuum. It's the gravitational constant. It's the reduced Planck constant, it's the Coulomb constant, and it's the Boltzmann constant. These are laws that science uses to govern our universe so that they can, let's say, if you want to send a spaceship to the moon, you have to compute the mathematics on how to engineer that and do that safely in the correct manner by these constant laws of one, you know. And so understanding the one will get you to the nine. So let's say that getting from Earth to the moon and you call the Earth as being one, and you want to get to the nine, then you have to follow the constant laws of the universe in order to get there. So it's very interesting when you understand the one, and that can be broken down in many different ways from my observation. Uh, Yesterday, I'm kind of all over the place in my mind. Got so many things on it. Yesterday, they said that they wanted to implement a space military, and it's going to be the same way a space force. Those were his words, Donald Trump words. That's very interesting right there. I don't think you have to understand that this is a new term being introduced, and this is the importance I want to get people to start recognizing. The same way you can easily understand that IGTV is going to change social media. The same way you can understand hearing Donald Trump say things like Space Force is going to be a paradigm shift in our reality as well. And it's either something that you can actually use, or is you going to be a tool of. The same way where he had to give an executive orders to bring the children back to their parents. The same way that we just dropped out of human rights. We just dropped out of that convention. So um, you have to, and I'm about to bring this up because the reason we got into this is because of Second World War, which is the reason we joined the United Nations in the first place. And you got to understand in between both of those wars was 19 years of peace before the next war had came. And so we entered the United Nations as really in an agreement to where it wasn't another World War III. So us dropping out of that, you know, you have to ask yourself what can be the sequence of events, but also it represents the relationship of the United States with Israel and Palestine about to get it even worse, because the United Nations was on the helmet of Israel and all the things that they were doing to Palestine. So I know that we don't always think about these things, but they all end up trickling down to affect us on some level, and especially when it comes to us getting caught up in distractions, us looking at the economy, us looking at business, us looking at the transformation of technology, the transformation of, our social environments and things of that nature. Once you understand the effect of those things, then you learn how to adjust to them in reality to where you can even find opportunity in everything, you know. But that's important to know because in 2014, did you know that we didn't even track police shootings until Michael Brown. The FBI didn't track police shootings. They said they didn't really have a way of doing that. So they never really that's why it wasn't a real conversation when they asked the FBI agent back in the day about it. So we didn't even start tracking police shootings until Michael Brown, which is, for me, the paradigm of black bodies. Because that same year, you've seen over 13 to 14,000 black people caught Ebola in Africa. And then you also had uh, Michael Brown, which represented the new paradigm shift, and the 9/11 boys the police started killing rapidly. Now, what you got to understand is ever since 2013, there's also been a decrease on police shootings. So while police shootings have had a decrease, there's been an increase on police killings. And that's also interesting to mention because there's over 500,000 police officers. And it's been about another 100,000 that's been added since that day and time. And so these things are understand to know that last year in 2017, there was about 1,000 police shootings. Now, if you want to know the frequency of something, you have to divide that by the time in which it happens. So if there's over 1,000 police shootings in 365 days, and you divide that 1,000 with that 365, then that's going to bring you somewhere around 2.6 hertz, which means the frequency of police shooting is at 2.6 hertz a day, meaning that that's about two and a half people getting killed today by police. Now, if you want to change that frequency, then you have to do counteractive things the same way police got their killings down, and was through funding, was through new training, was through new vests, and it was also through the implementation of fear because they was killing so many other black men, and it actually decreased their amount of killings, even though they and plus they increased their army as well, where they got even more police officers. So you talking about they have a constant decrease in police shootings by I think 3.2% a year, and they adding more police officers than they ever had in history. How is that possible? So when I listen to guys like Raspy Raw, he talk about attacking them through the insurance companies because the insurance companies can actually make the police officers do certain things. They can either reward them for less shootings, or they can take away their policies, or and so that's very interesting because I look at different ways to solve problems and to solve the frequency of that problem because in life, everything vibrates at a frequency and the strongest frequency always wins. So if the solution frequency is higher than the problem one, the paradigm. So it's just very interesting the way you look at things. And when you a polymath, you get universal knowledge to solve specific problems. So I'm just sort of bringing that roundabout. So yeah, and the Washington Post is the actual one who started tracking police shootings. Isn't that crazy that it took a newspaper syndication, a media syndication to actually start tracking police shootings? So that's very interesting. I think in New York they went from like 30 million a few years ago to like $300 million in settlements they had to settle out from the insurance companies. Somebody called. So